All right, buckle up, everyone. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going deep. We're talking about high-stakes headhunting.
Oh, yeah.
And, we love a good case study here, right?
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what we've got today. It's all about Spark. You're familiar with them?
I am. Spark Design Agency, pretty impressive history, goes all the way back to 1968.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a client list that reads like a who's who of, the biggest names out there.
Give us some names.
Okay, we're talking Netflix, Microsoft, Universal, even Boots.
Wow. Boots.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They needed to step up their sales game.
Okay.
And they needed to do it fast. They were looking for a real rainmaker.
The rainmaker.
Yeah, a VP of business development, someone to bring in a whole new generation of clients.
Okay, so pressure's on. They need a sales superstar, but finding one in the design world, not exactly common.
Well, that's what makes this so interesting. You see, Spark, they're not your typical ad agency,
Okay.
with a huge sales team.
Hmm.
So they needed to think outside the box.
What did they do?
They called in the experts. Literally, they brought in the Sales Experts, a specialist recruitment firm. And what those guys did, it's fascinating.
Yeah, break it down for us.
Instead of just, blasting out a generic job ad and hoping for the best, they took a really targeted approach.
Oh, I like it already.
Right? They went out and built this whole database of senior advertising sales executives, but not just any executives. These were people already killing it in the London advertising scene.
Ah, so poaching top talent from competitors.
Well, you could say that, but I think it's more about, finding the perfect fit. And of course, it helps that they were offering a pretty sweet deal.
What kind of sweet deal are we talking?
Okay, hold on tight. Up to £120,000 base salary.
Whoa, hold up.
Yeah. Plus, the potential to double that in performance bonuses. So, not bad.
Definitely not bad, but I bet it wasn't just about flashing the cash, was it?
No, not at all. The sales experts knew that finding the right person meant having a really solid selection process, like multi-step weeding out the folks who weren't going to cut it.
Okay, give us the behind the scenes. What did this selection process actually look like?
So first, the obvious, right? Resume screening, make sure people tick the basic boxes. But then things got interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
They went beyond the usual interview, brought in what they call the Sales Hunter Intelligence Evaluation Assessment.
The what now?
Yeah, it's a mouthful, right? But basically, it's a specialized tool designed to identify those natural-born salespeople, the ones with those instincts you can't teach.
So not just what they say in an interview, but how they're actually wired for sales success. Tell me more about this assessment. Was it all about personality, or were there specific sales skills they were looking for?
It was a bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
Went beyond those typical personality tests, looked at cognitive abilities, specific sales skills, trying to spot those patterns and traits that indicate someone's a natural closer. It's like
peeking into their sales DNA.
Exactly.
Wow, so the sales experts weren't messing around. They wanted to make sure Spark wasn't just getting a stack of resumes, but a curated pool of potential superstars. But did it pay off? Did they find Spark their rainmaker?
Oh, they did. And then some. In fact, the results were so good that Spark actually sped up their hiring plan.
Really?
Yeah, they were initially just looking for one VP, but they were so blown away by the candidates that they decided to hire 3 VPs right then and there.
Wait, 3 instead of 1. That's quite the jump. Was that solely because of the candidates, or were there other things at play? Maybe a sudden opportunity they had to seize?
Well, it seems like the assessment played a big role. You see, it wasn't just about evaluating how good a candidate was right now.
Okay.
It was about understanding their potential. How they might grow, adapt to new markets. And remember, Spark had global ambitions. They wanted to expand, into EMEA.
EMEA.
Yeah, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And the U.S., too. The assessment helped them see who could not only excel in their current role, but also lead the charge into these new areas.
Okay, so we're not just filling position here. We're finding future leaders, strategic talent acquisition at its finest. But I got to know, what did Spark have to say about all this? Were they happy with the results?
John Barker, Spark's chief growth officer, he was thrilled, called the sales experts an amazing partner.
High praise.
Right. And he specifically mentioned the quality of the candidates, called them outstanding executives. Coming from a company like Spark, that means something.
It definitely does. So it seems like the sales expert strategy was a hit. They found a need, targeted a specific group, and used a really thorough selection process to find the best of the best. But I wonder how much of their success came from their deep knowledge of the advertising world. Would this approach work in other fields, you think?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of what specialized recruitment is all about.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are we talking about here? How might this apply to, say, building a top-notch tech team or, I don't know, a research lab full of brilliant scientists?
Well, to understand that, we need to dig a little deeper into what the sales experts did. It's not just about the specific tools, but the underlying thinking, the philosophy behind their choices.
Okay, so we're about to uncover the secret sauce of successful headhunting. I'm ready.
The key takeaway here is that the sales experts didn't just focus on filling a position. They
Oh,
were building a team.
right.
A team built for long-term success.
All right, listeners, we're about to dive into the nitty-gritty of building a high-performing team, no matter what industry you're in. Stick with us.
So first things first, you got to know your stuff.
Okay.
Deep industry knowledge. Right. The sales experts, they knew the advertising world inside and out. They knew where to find the top talent, what made those candidates tick, and what specific skills would make someone successful at a place like Spark.
Yeah, like you wouldn't hire a fishing guide to lead a mountain climbing expedition, would you? Got to
Yep.
know the terrain.
Exactly. And that expertise, it lets you target your search, write killer job descriptions, even ask the right questions in those interviews.
Smart. Okay, so deep industry knowledge, check. What's next?
Next, you need a crystal clear picture of your ideal candidate. And I mean crystal clear.
Okay.
Remember, Spark wasn't just looking for any salesperson. They wanted a rainmaker, someone with, a global mindset, someone who could snag those big name clients. The sales experts, they really took the time to understand Spark's vision, and then they turned that into a very specific set of criteria.
So it's not just about filling the role. It's about finding the person who aligns with the company's long-term goals.
100%. The better you define your ideal candidate, the more likely you are to find them, like using a magnet to attract exactly what you need.
And probably makes the whole screening process way more efficient, right? No more wading through piles of resumes from people who are totally off base.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of screening, that brings us to our third principle, a rigorous selection process. The sales experts, they didn't just stop at the resume and the interview.
Right, we talked about that.
They used that specialized assessment to really gauge those sales instincts, the things you can't always pick up in a conversation.
Yeah, I really like this idea of going deeper. It makes me think about other fields too, like using coding challenges for software developers or portfolio reviews for designers. It's not just about what someone says they can do, it's about seeing them actually do it.
Exactly. You got to figure out what skills and aptitudes are essential for that particular role, and then design a selection process that really puts those qualities to the test.
Like a custom obstacle course, tailored to the job.
I like that. And last but not least, never underestimate the power of relationships.
Right.
The sales experts, they weren't just working for Spark, they were working with Spark. They built a real partnership based on trust and open communication.
Sounds like that collaborative approach was a big part of their success. Spark gets their dream team, the candidates find amazing opportunities, and the sales experts, well, they solidify their reputation as top-notch headhunters.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that successful recruitment isn't a one-way street. It's about building relationships that benefit everyone.
All right, so we've got our 4 core principles: deep industry knowledge, a super clear ideal candidate profile, a rigorous selection process, and those strong relationships. Seems like pretty valuable insights for anyone involved in hiring, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to our listeners. What's the one thing we want them to walk away with from this deep dive?
If I had to boil it all down to one key takeaway, it would be this: don't settle for mediocrity.
Ooh, I like that. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, just trying to fill the position as quickly as possible. But this case study, it really shows that investing in the right recruitment strategy can have a massive impact on a company's success.
Absolutely. Think about it. Spark didn't just hire 3 capable people. They brought in 3 potential game changers, people who could really shape the future of the company.
Makes you wonder how many companies out there are missing out on incredible opportunities simply because they haven't figured out the right way to find talent.
It's true. And it's not just about finding the best candidate, the one with the fanciest resume. It's about finding the right fit for your company culture, for your goals, for your vision for the future.
So how do we move beyond those paper qualifications and figure out if someone is truly the right fit? What are some practical things our listeners can do?
Yeah, it's like we're talking about more than just what's on their resume, right?
Exactly.
It's about understanding who they are, how they think, what motivates them. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's about going beyond the surface, really getting to know the person behind the credentials.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, one way is to ask a behavioral interview questions.
Okay.
Focus on past experiences. How did they approach challenges? What did they learn?
So less, tell me your strengths and weaknesses, and more, tell me about a time you failed.
Exactly. You want to see how they think on their feet, how they problem solve, how they handle those tough situations. That tells you so much more than a perfectly written resume.
This makes me think back to that sales hunter assessment again. Was that designed to get at those deeper traits as well?
Absolutely. It wasn't just about, can they close a deal? It dug into things like resilience, adaptability, even a bit of that entrepreneurial spirit,
Ah, interesting.
which, those are qualities that are crucial for any role, really, but especially for a leadership position like the VP of Business Development.
Right, because at that level, it's not just about being able to sell. It's about being able to lead, to inspire, to build a team.
Yeah, that's a key distinction, and it's something that I think gets missed a lot in hiring. We get so focused on the immediate need, filling that open position, that we forget about the bigger picture.
It's like the difference between putting out a fire and building a fireproof house.
Perfect analogy. And that's why this case study is so powerful. It shows that taking that strategic, long-term approach to talent, it pays off.
All right, so let's recap. We talked about deep industry knowledge, defining your ideal candidate, a rigorous selection process, and of course, those all-important relationships. These principles seem like they could apply to just about any industry, any role.
Yeah, for sure. Whether you're building a tech startup, a research lab, even your own podcast empire, these principles can help you find the right people to make that vision a reality.
Love it. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are out there on the hunt for top talent?
I would say don't be afraid to invest in the process. Building a great team, it's not a quick fix, it's a commitment. And finding the right people is worth every bit of effort you put in.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the world of strategic talent acquisition. It's been a fascinating conversation. And to all our listeners out there, until next time, keep diving deep. And remember, building a great team starts with finding the right people.